I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it's the easiest thing in the world, and I thought maybe it would be difficult, but here we
Nope.
are.
Here we are. Well, welcome in, guys. It is, God, is it Wednesday? I don't even know what day of the week it is. Hello,
Hump
welcome to this,
day.
the second day of summer. The days starting getting shorter, but that means we're getting that much closer to football season. I am Nick Kendell, and joined by, as always, Luke Patterson. This is Mile High Insiders live on Wednesday nights. Luke, how you doing?
Exceptional. Back-to-back nights, man. I'm starting to feel a little bit like you when you do building the Broncos and then MHI, so I'm feeling really good. It's also Champ Bailey's birthday today
Oh,
here
hell
on
yeah.
Wednesday, June 22nd. Yeah, I saw the Denver Broncos put out a cool tweet earlier, and I remembered it as a kid, and I know it's been applied to some corners, but there was only one Champ Bailey, and they said 70% of the earth is covered by water. The rest is covered by Champ Bailey. Happy birthday. That's super wicked, man. Champ is one of the best. It was cool to talk to one of our staff members who got a chance to meet Champ recently, and just a great guy, man. So a good day in Broncos country.
Yeah, happy birthday to Champ Bailey, one of the better trades any team has made in a long time. And
Whew.
I was pretty, I mean, gosh, I was what, like 7, 8 years old when that trade
Yeah,
happened. But I remember being bummed as all get out when the Broncos traded away Clinton Portis. I mean, it was coming off that game where he ran for like 10,000 yards against the Chiefs, and like, oh, they're trading away a running back. Why wouldn't they do that? Oh man, if only I knew what I knew
right.
now. Not only about how great Champ Bailey is, no disrespect to Clinton Portis was great too, but the value of running back versus a cornerback as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Happy birthday, Champ.
did it start kind of there too when you start looking at the modern NFL and value? I mean, I'm right there with you. I was a kid and it was funny. We were talking about this last night, Carl, Scott, and I, after
Hmm.
the show ended. And Scott was exactly right. The Broncos and Shanahan fleeced him. I mean, he
Oh
he
God.
really did. I was super bummed as well, man. I mean, Clinton Portis, watching him play at the U with that fantastic team, um, it was amazing. But here we are, and now he's a proud member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I know he represents Washington a little bit here and there, but he's a Bronco through and through. So it's really cool to see Champ be able to be celebrated every year, not only in
Mhm.
the Pro Football Hall of Fame now, but for his birthday. So speaking of being celebrated, I want to say what's up to one of our own, Dylan Von Ark, saying, "What's up, Broncos country? Make sure you hit that like button on the way in and subscribe if you haven't already." Guys, get on over to milehighhuddle.com. Dylan Von Arks has an article up right now at this very second. Subscription fee, no paying to read or anything like that here at MHH. We've got you covered. Mark was in the stream really early as well, saying, "What's up, Broncos country? Go Avs." Broncos country is there to support the Avs. The Nuggets are there also. It's cool to see the sports kind of intermingle and support one another, because what I thought was going to be a quick hockey series is quickly turning into maybe an even series after tonight.
I mean, let's not even say that. The Avs going to go up 3-1. That'd be great. Also, Mark Schrader's in the house, right? And wanted to say that hopefully he's doing well. I saw your Facebook post the other day about your heart stuff going on there, but it sounds like they're figuring out what's going on, and you're going to be on the up and up in no time. So thinking about you, Mark. Hopefully you're doing well, and glad to have you on here today. Mark's one of our big time supporters with the stars and everything. So always good to hear from
Nice.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, and thoughts and prayers, man. Hope you get better. Take care of
Yeah.
that ticker. We only get one of them, man, and that's the crazy thing right now. And when you start looking at today, Nick, and some of the news coming out of Baltimore, I mean,
Yeah.
thoughts and prayers for the Ravens flock. I've got some friends that were loosely and closely associated with Baltimore. It's just a bummer to hear about Goose. 55, I think, was his age, way too young. And
Yeah.
then speaking of way too young, Mr. Ferguson, man, that was just a super bummer on today. And life is so precious.
Yeah. Jalen Ferguson, Louisiana Tech. Remember, he had
Sack man.
he had a lot of sacks for gosh, what is Louisiana Tech's mascot? I can't remember, but fell to the third round, I believe.
Aren't they the
Uh,
Raging Cajuns?
I think that's maybe they are. I thought maybe that was Lafayette, Louisiana Lafayette.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm gonna Google that right now.
But definitely a big bummer, Jalen Ferguson. So RIP, and I don't know if we want to find out more about that or anything. Sounds like there's a lot of
No.
misinformation or different thoughts about that. But either way, a big bummer down there. So sorry for Baltimore, and sorry to hear about that as well, man. Way too young. It's happening way too much. Obviously, big teams in the NFL, but Hopefully these guys can stay safe and let's not have any more of that this season. Mike S coming in here saying, "What's up, Broncos country? What's up with you, Mike? Hope you're doing well. Always good to see Mike S in the house, rocking out here." We also got Phil, another big time supporter over on Facebook, saying, "Evening, Luke, Nick, and Scott. Glad to see Nick made it home safe."
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if you're familiar with the video. The End of the World was kind of a big like animated film, or short when we were kids. You probably would recognize it. They're like
Okay.
fire nukes at ever. But there's like a French scene. It's like, fire our nukes, and he's like, "But I am tired." That's me today. I am tired. And big time stars coming in from Phil. Thank you so much for the support, Phil. We appreciate you. But yeah, no, it was about a 30-hour drive from East Iowa back to Washington. Did it over 2 days. And like I said, I am tired. But we're doing well. We made it back home safe and sound.
Well, yeah, and that tests a marriage. You bond, you fight, you hit the road, man. You hit the road with your best friend, and it's what you do. I'm gonna be doing it here soon in a little bit, and then it's totally new when you're carrying your fur babies with you, when you've got your actual kids with you. It adds a whole nother element, and this is getting old, man. This is what we do now. We travel, we road trip, we go to weddings, family obligations, for the better, for the worst. And here we are on Wednesday night. MHI, Nick Kendell, yours truly. Get it, Nick, at Nick Kendell, MHH on Twitter. Yours truly, at Luke Patterson, LP. Scott on the ones and twos, at Scout Kennedy. Kathy Lund is also in the house. Hi, Kathy. Good evening. Back-to-back nights, man. Her, Dale, our guy James showing up. And Kathy saying every day is precious. Tomorrow isn't promised to any of us. And that's exactly right. I think sometimes there's a misconception, Nick, that you have to have a near-death experience or an awakening or some sort of wake-up call to truly value life. And that's not always the case. Small things. Make the small things matter and don't sweat the small things. And that's at least what we try to do as a team here at MHH.
Yeah, absolutely. And no small things. All the support we have, everybody coming in here. Mark's in the house saying, "Evening, Broncos country, go Avs." We also got Shades in the house saying, "Evenings, Broncos country, good to see you." Dale's in the house. I know we already said hi to Dale, but I want to say again,
Dale's
Dale,
our guy.
you've been super nice and appreciated your comments over on Twitter recently. Been thinking about you and your family. Hopefully you're doing better. Gary Leeds Palmer also coming in saying, "Hey, Nick and Luke and Scott. Glad to see you in the house, Nick. Hope all went well with you." Yeah, Scott graciously yesterday, I messaged him yesterday morning. God, was it yesterday morning? It's saying like, "Scott, I'm going to be dead tired when I get home. Can I take the morning off today?" And he said yes. So luckily, thanks to Scott for that one. Made it home safe and sound. Happy to be home. Now it's the packing and getting ready to move. So it's one thing after another, but that's okay. Kareem Gomez in the house too, saying, "Cheers, fellas. Good to see you, Kareem. Always good to see Kareem. One of goes way back." Also, Ernie Mays says, "Hello, men. Go Broncos."
What's up, Ernie? How are you, man? Ernie's one of those friends of ours that really shows so much support and love over on Facebook, and we appreciate all the support wherever you watch us. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. We're available. You find us if you can't catch us live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Chase Wellner, been with us since the beginning. We kicked off the show talking about Champ Bailey, and he's asking a really good question here. Champ Bailey or Revis? I think it's pretty obvious, man. I'm going 2-4 on that one all day. I think Revis is a little overrated, if I'm being honest.
How will I put this? I think Champ was better longer. Revis's peak season was better than Champ's peak season. Revis's peak season was unbelievable, but I'll take the 5-7 years of being a top 5 cornerback versus Revis, who was 3-4 seasons of elite, but tailed off pretty greatly after that. I mean, do you remember him down in like Tampa Bay and like New England?
It was weird.
Yeah,
it was weird. He took that kind of aging corner journey, and I know people could also argue Champ did too a little bit with New Orleans, and it was weird to see him in those practice colors, and it didn't quite work out. But you're exactly right, Nick. And then you talk about the context and their different playing times. You're talking a pass-happy NFL today, where Darrelle Revis was against in the 90s, early 2000s, where Champ Bailey was still counted on to rip runners to the ground. He had some great topple over flip-flops on guys tackling, and he was one of the best to tackle as well. So really good question, Chase. I absolutely love it. Jay, what's up, man? It's good to see you in the stream. It's been a minute. Broncos have so many questions. It would be really hard for me to have them as the favorites to win the division, but we've got a chance. Nick, I wrote up an article on milehighhuddle.com, and it was talking about Adam Rank's prediction. Now, Adam Rank is a analyst over at NFL Network. If you play fantasy football or anything like that, you could probably catch Adam Rank all over that network. And I don't know. He showed so much more love to the Broncos than I thought he would. This has to be the Russell Wilson effect. He says the Broncos are going to go 12-5, win the AFC West, split the division at 3-3, and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, that's a tall order. What say you?
Definitely possible. Adam Rank has been, I don't remember, a few years ago, I think it was the Drew Lock's sophomore season where he had the Broncos like winning like 4 games or something, or 3 games or something. And Broncos country really piled on Adam Rank. Obviously, he was harder on them than they ended up being. I think they won, that was the year they had the
like 6 or 7
overall pick. So they were better than that. But a lot of people, didn't you see how Drew Lock finished the season 4-1, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, some of the most loudest people on both sides were wrong, as they tend to be most of the time. But the fact that he is talking about the Broncos being 12-5 with, as Jay mentioned here, all the questions is somewhat surprising to me. And there were a few games here and there that he had the Broncos winning that I'd be like, maybe not going either way. But happy to see that Adam Rank, who knows a thing or two about football, is high on the Broncos right now. Adam Rank, a big Bears fan, I believe. So hopefully he will enjoy Broncos football rather than his Bears, who look like a pretty bad team this year. But I think my big question is 12-5 enough to win the division?
That's tough to say, right? Especially when you see the Raiders and the Chargers in the postseason. And Nick, I went back and just looked, man, for all you Raiders fans. And I know all you guys have a friend that's a Raiders fan. They're not your best friend, right? Because you can't quite trust them. But the Raiders haven't won an AFC West since 2002. I mean, that's a long time to go for the division, the crown, and not having it. And then you look at the Chargers, who last had it in 2009. And then it's been the Broncos dominating one chapter. The Chiefs are the reigning champs. It's definitely a possibility, but it's a tall order. It's going to be interesting, man. I mean, what if you have 3 AFC West teams in there, just depending on how things fall? You look at that NFC East and how bad teams always tend to limp and sneak into or tie their way into the playoffs. It totally could happen.
Yeah, 12-5 to me means that the Broncos win on a tiebreaker. I don't think 12-5 is going to be good enough to win outright. I think that you probably have to have some sort of scenario where you have the best record in the division or the head-to-head. But the way it plays out here, the Broncos, splitting with each team in the AFC West, the Broncos ending up, splitting, not only going 3-3 and splitting with each team. I'm not sure how the tiebreakers would work out, but I don't think 12-5 is going to be enough to get it done. I know that the Chiefs have a tougher schedule this season. I don't really respect the Chiefs pass catchers at wide receiver so much. I think the defense is just okay. Still have the best quarterback and head coach in the division. Chargers have a lot of questions still as well. And you've heard me talk about it on here. I don't get it with the Raiders. Maybe they proved me wrong this year, but like looking at their roster, they have the worst offensive line in the division. They have the worst defense in the division. They have the worst quarterback in the division. What are we doing here? But what we're not doing here is we're not going to ignore Jeff anymore. Jeff Noyes coming to the $5 over on YouTube. Thank you so much, Jeff. Go ahead,
Jeff. Yeah. No, I really appreciate that. You're exactly right, man. The Raiders are popping off because they got Devontae Adams, and I guess we'll see what he could do with Derek Carr. I throw a little respect their way, but my sights are on the Chiefs, and then I'm keeping an eye on the Chargers just because they've got Justin Herbert, and what they're able to do. But Michaela Parker is joining us. What's up, Michaela? It's been a minute. Thank you for joining Nick and I and Scott on MHI, and she is saying good evening, Broncos country. Jay's also getting in here saying 12-5 would win the division, but our guy, Andrew Baker, what's up, dude? He's saying, what's up, my guys? Hawks fans are so salty. So do we hope they boo Russ at homecoming? Manning got cheered and lost those games. Hashtag MHH for life. Good question, Andrew. Nick's going to be there. What do you think? How is Russ going to be welcomed or received in Seattle?
I think they're going to boo him. I really do. And thank you so much, Andrew. Good to see you. I think that there's a lot of, some of it is driven up by the team and the media as well. And, we kind of joke about, state media with the Broncos, but that's, there's a little bit of pay to play, so to speak, for all the medias in the NFL. The Broncos actually have more access. I think it was Scott and I were talking about it. Like the Broncos have it good. The media has it good because they actually have interviews and press conferences during the offseason where these other teams aren't getting access to the players and whatnot. So the Hawks fans and the media definitely are painting the picture that Russell Wilson is the reason that he's not in Seattle anymore. He wanted out, and anything that they can take as a slight to kind of make themselves feel like it was Russ, not them, being the Seahawks, they're going to lean into it. So I get it.
Yeah.
And if the shoe was on the other foot, I would probably understand as well. I mean, they're coping right now, kind of like how the Broncos fans back in, what was it, 2019, when Adam Rank had the team going 4-12 or whatever. Oh, did you see Russell Wilson or Drew Lock going 4-1 down the stretch?
Right.
Okay, well you're coping. This is copium right now, and that's what the Seahawks have a lot right now is hardcore copium.
Yeah, and speaking of the Seahawks, right, it just got reported right before we went on air. I think Josina Anderson had it first that there's still some interest there from Seattle in Baker Mayfield, disgruntled Cleveland Browns quarterback. We'll see what goes on with Deshaun Watson. That whole thing is an absolute mess. And then there was also the report today, and you can look at it, Mile High Huddle. It might be up right now. I can't remember. I know it's going to be published tonight if it's not already up. Report surfaced saying Russell Wilson wanted a coaching change. Specifically talking about offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer. So definitely some salty Seattle fans out there, and that's okay. I hope they do boo him because Russ is going to get mad and ball out of control. James coming in hot with the $5 super. Thank you so much, James. I've been so busy lately. I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm excited for the season, but with all the changes, I'm hoping we shake up the AFC in a good way. James, welcome back, man. I'm so pumped that you're able to catch a live show. Lots of changes, a rookie coaching staff, a Pro Bowl, Super Bowl winning quarterback, an unproven wide receiver core, if you will. Tons of expectations, and the Chiefs, they've got some problems of their own, Nick. I think Tyreek Hill leaving is going to be a bigger hole than people anticipate. I think maybe you're going to see some of the wheels fall off with Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid. Just total guessing here. This division could be up for it. This could be the biggest division, the hottest division in all of the NFL.
Oh, I think it definitely will be must-watch TV. And thank you so much, Michaela, saying I think we will end up 12-5. We'll take it to the bank, but you're helping us take it to the bank with the $9.99 super here. So thank you so much, Michaela. Good to see you. We appreciate you swinging by and hanging out in a very nice DT jersey there. It'll be really interesting. I think when Scott and I went through the schedule earlier on a Broncos for Breakfast, I had the Broncos going 10-7, I believe. So 12-5 is a great one. The two games that stick out to me that I have question marks for that he had the Broncos getting wins, and it's just the nature of the segment. You know, we talked about it for 40 minutes and he had 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Right.
But two games that concern me. It's not that I don't think the Broncos are not better on paper than these teams, but the matchups concern me greatly. The Colts and the Titans. He had the Broncos winning both those games. I got to be honest with you. I got to see the Broncos being able to stop the run. If they're going to be able to beat both those teams. I know that they think Indy's at Denver and Tennessee is on the road, but the way this personnel is setting up, and they're definitely gearing up to be a pass stopping oriented defense, that's not going to be the Titans. That's not going to be the Colts. I got to see it to believe it from this front seven to be super confident about getting those two wins. And those could be that's the difference between 12-5 and 10-7 right there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's always going to be those couple teams, at least maybe 2 to 3, that are going to sneak up on you. And speaking of not sneaking up on us and always there for the support, Mark Schrader, thank you so much for joining the show and for all your support over on Facebook. Mark, we love the enthusiasm, man. Thanks for being able to catch us live. Yeah, Adam Rank, it's always a tough spot, Nick. Like you said, he had like 90 seconds to go ahead and explain his projection, but one thing that I thought was really interesting was he had the Broncos going on 2 3-game winning streaks and only having one losing streak of back-to-back games. Of course, the LA Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs. But if you're saying this division is going to be as competitive as we're all hoping that it's going to be, I mean, the Broncos have 10 total nationally televised games, including the preseason. The business world knows that the Broncos are going to make money. Talk about taking it to the bank, Michaela, and the Waltons. They're all about money, right? It's going to be critical that the Broncos win as many games as they can. There can't be a trap game. I think Russell Wilson will provide that, but you always have to have that in the back of your mind. What if you're just snake bitten by injury that week? What if you're sick? What if a million different things happen? Because it's the NFL. There are unlikely players in the playoff race every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And there'll be a team that will surprise positively and negatively. And it's very possible, unfortunately, with the Broncos. I think it was Jay's comment early on saying that Broncos have a lot of questions. There's a reality out there where the Broncos finished, let's say 8-9 this season. A couple of injuries. Let's say Garrett, God, knock on wood, Garrett Bowles goes down. Patrick Surtain goes down. Both pass rushers, edge rushers go down. Broncos could be fighting to be 500, let
Yep.
alone in the playoffs. And, that's I'm not predicting that to happen, but it is one of the many possibilities where things could happen this year. Tyler Rogers saying it's the NFL, any team can beat anyone. I mean, we saw it last year. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the
Mm,
Buffalo Bills, right? I mean, just that's sometimes matchups make fights. And that's the other thing, too. It's what is it? The transitive property doesn't
yep.
exist in the NFL. You see, like, okay, well, my team beat this team that beat this team that beat this team. So therefore, my team would beat team Z that you went all the way around. No, every game is its own individual one, and every matchup is slightly different. So definitely, that's what makes the NFL, in my opinion, the greatest sport and league in all of professional sports. There's a lot of things and a lot of teams that have belief and reason to be have belief as long as you have the quarterback.
Yeah, well, it's the reason you call it the league of parity, right? I
Yeah.
mean, in theory, a team, that's how the draft is built, right? We all know
Mhm.
that. The last team usually gets the first pick, depending on if they have it or not by the time the draft rolls around is a whole nother story. But yeah, F them picks, right? Los Angeles, I mean, you guys see that. Heck, in California, you're celebrating double, right? You got the NBA champs with Golden State, you got the Super Bowl champs with the LA Rams. It's insane right now to see a team be able to be a quarterback away with the Los Angeles Rams. And that is not trying to undermine the brilliance and the excellence of Sean McVay and that coaching staff. I'm hoping that it really is as good as we think it is, because you've got a defensive coordinator here in Evero who we're just waiting to see. And I know you've been chomping at the bit. You want to see his defense. Carl and I talked a lot
Yeah.
last night on Building the Broncos about the defensive line. I said we need to upgrade on the pass rushing. He said we need to upgrade on the interior defensive line. That's a problem. That's a problem for the whole D line. So the Broncos do have their holes, but you got to be feeling good because we got Mr. Unlimited in the house.
Yeah, no, 100%. You have a chance now, and before it was just we had a chance as far as anything in the universe can happen. Maybe something happens where it clicks for Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater, or the Broncos go on a crazy run like they did in 2015. But now, definitely much more based in reality and probability. So excited about that. A lot of questions, but we're going to get them answered as the season progresses. Benjamin Flores coming in. Good to see you, Benjamin. Hopefully, you're doing well. He's saying, let's see how explosive our offense can be. Maybe force teams to play catch up if we can limit or take away the luxury of running the clock out on the ground. It's all theoretical until they hit the field. Exactly what I was just saying there.
Yeah.
Definitely do want to see how explosive this Broncos offense can be. But you know what I want to see, Luke? I want to see the Broncos be able to be efficient outside of just the explosive offense. I know that with Russell Wilson coming to town, the explosive offense is going to come with because that's what he's made his career on. But last season, in the last few seasons of the NFL, Russell Wilson has been one of the worst quarterbacks in the entire NFL against the cover four defense coverage specifically. And cover four, there's a little bit of, I think it's selection bias in this because one team that has played more cover four than any other, not many teams play straight up cover four. One team that does has been the San Francisco 49ers, who have had great defenses and the Seahawks have struggled against. So I want to see how Russell Wilson can do against that cover four going forward. And what the cover four does is it's the cornerbacks and the two safeties going deep. You have to be able to hit the short routes and the stuff outside the outside the hash marks. Russell Wilson in his career to date has not done that super efficiently. Is it because of the height? Is it because he's greedy? We're going to find out. And that's going to be a big question for Nathaniel Hackett and this offense this year. What can they do to be better against cover four coverages? Because again, I think he was literally the worst quarterback in the NFL against cover four defenses last season. So it's going to be a question. Do you want to see the explosive offenses? That's going to come. Can he be efficient down to down, getting the checkdowns, get into those intermediate routes to not always rely on the home run ball?
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit last night on Building the Broncos, and I think that Russell's going to have to reinvent himself just a little bit. He's going to have to find some common ground with Nathaniel Hackett. We talk about energy all the time. We talk about explosive. How about the word smart? I'm looking forward to trying to see an offense out there that is not only situationally aware, self-aware. That's how you start to change things on a team aspect. You need to take your weakest link as a player in that position and try to improve it by any means necessary. You need to get yourself as much information as you can. You've really just got to receive, reflect, and then react to whatever situation you're going to be in. And I think Russell Wilson's going to do that. This is a guy that has practice reports typed up for players of every position on the offense after he's already went through, charted the game film, and has his own stuff to do. I mean, that is dedication. That's Peyton Manning level stuff. And that's what's going to transcend the Broncos, hopefully into AFC West division champs. Speaking of champs, Chase Wellner coming in again here with another generous super. Who are the 9 to 10 offensive linemen you predict for the final 53? So I'll start with some of the obvious, Nick. Garrett Bowles is going to make this team. He's arguably the best offensive lineman on this team today. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a regression from Garrett Bowles just because of Russell Wilson's nature. When you've got a quarterback trying to extend plays and make big things happen, and an offensive lineman who loves to protect that quarterback, you're going to grab a guy. I think it's kind of nature. I don't think it's, I don't want to say it's a fault to Garrett for wanting to protect his quarterback, but it's the nature of Russ. You've got Graham Glasgow, who just redid his deal. I think he's okay. Lloyd Cushenberry, who Russell Wilson's kind of propping up right now. Dalton Reisner, Quinn Miners, Billy Turner, Calvin Anderson. On the bubble for me, I've got Netani Moody right now. I'm sure he's fighting for a position just like Dalton Reisner. I know that sounds weird to say, but what are some other thoughts for you on the offensive line?
There's going to be a popular name on this Bronco, at least well known for an offensive line standard, that does not make this roster, specifically at the guard position. You mentioned Netani Moody, but they keep mentioning him in camp that he's been surprising so far. So he's one that on the surface, I wouldn't be surprised if he was gone, but maybe he makes a run. I mean, you still have 2 years, I believe, of cost control left, and he's very young and cheap. Maybe somebody like Dalton Reisner is moved. I saw some of I think it was Sports Info Solutions had Reisner as the 32nd out of 34 qualifying guards last year as far as ability. I know that he struggled early on. And not to make too much of this, but he just got married recently. I didn't see any teammates at his wedding ceremony. Not to be nobody came to the guy's birthday party at draft day, but Reisner I think is not as solidified on the roster as many would think, and maybe somebody that you get some value back as well. And furthermore, last year of his contract, so that's one that's confusing me. I've been hearing more and more Tom Compton starting left guard hype. Coming out of camp and out of Dove Valley.
No, get out of
telling
here with that. First he's the Broncos, the Broncos, nobody from the Broncos is in the wedding pictures. Dude, I'm sure there were Broncos there. I hear you. Dalton Reisner is sometimes propped up by the story, by the narrative. I'm totally with you in that trench. That's tough. It'd be tough to convince Broncos country of that. But then again, you're looking at a GM who traded away Von Miller. So anything can really happen. And this team has got to get better. But speaking of getting better, this guy's making me feel better. Slightly above average, coming in with a very generous $10 super chat saying, guys, I never get to chance to catch a live show, but today is the day. Thank you for everything you guys do, covering everything and anything Denver Broncos. Hashtag Denver Broncos for life. We really appreciate that, man. Thank you. Slightly above average. That's so cool. I love the Freddy Krueger picture. I'm a big horror movie fan if I can watch them. I don't like the blood and gore and stuff like that, but my wife can't stand any of them. And I like that feeling of being scared in a really good movie. And some of those classics, man, like Friday the 13th and of course Nightmare on Elm Street. You can't get over the timeless classics.
I do love the classics as well. Much more Michael Myers on Halloween kind of guy. That's the Jamie Lee Curtis. That's my favorite. But thank you so much, Slightly Above Average. Good to have you in here, and thank you so much for the donation. We really appreciate that. And coming in here, Kathy says that Tom Compton sounds like an insurance agent. I would not undersell the connection to Butch Berry, the offensive line coach who came from San Francisco, where Tom Compton came from as well. It does sound like there's some connection there, and obviously Nathaniel Hackett in the end is going to set the lineups, but he's going to listen to his position coaches. So I I would not be shocked. Again, there's more talk about it than there was before mini camps and OTAs is what I'll say. So just pay attention to it.
Yeah, and you bring up Butch Barry, new offensive line coach, and that's really. I'm glad that you did, Nick. That's really important for people to know. I mean, this is Cat Quinn Miner said he's a tough guy. He's a tough grader, but we like it, and I think that's what you need in your offensive line coach. Rest in peace, to Alex Gibbs. I mean, rest his soul. He was one of those guys that's his players. I know Mark Schlereth talk about ad nauseum, but Andrew Baker, one of our guys, coming in saying, "Man, I'm so stoked if the Bengals can make a Super Bowl run with that trash offensive line and trash franchise, then this Denver Broncos team should be Super Bowl or bust. I don't care anymore. Let's ride." That's tough, Andrew. I hear you. I mean, the Bengals, when you've got red hot momentum, Nick, it just can carry you in the playoffs. It's palpable. You can feel it. Talk about energy and stuff like that. I mean, there's a little bit of magic that goes on with teams like that. And obviously, the Bengals didn't get the complete job done, but what a Super Bowl it was.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen in the playoffs, right? That's why we said many times over the last few seasons, even though, not the biggest believer in the Broncos quarterback situation, they had plenty of flaws on the team. You get in and anything can happen. It is a single elimination tournament, and you can ride that all the way pretty darn far in the NFL playoffs. So we'll see what happens this season. Definitely feel better about it. And you talk about, the Bengals being a trash franchise. I won't go that far because, I mean, I don't want to completely disparage Bengals fans who've had to go through some pretty dark and dreary years behind the Ravens and the Steelers. But again, just further proves the point that you are literally nothing in the NFL until you have a quarterback. But once that guy steps on the field, get ready to go. And Joe Burrow seems like that guy, going to be that guy for a while. And unfortunately, in the AFC, Broncos maybe going to have to go up against him in that offense right there. Maybe, I don't know, tell me if I'm crazy here. Dark horse MVP. I think that given the odds right now, I might be putting money on Burrow this season. The narrative's there, and I really love the pieces around him. I think that people are sleeping on. Well, Jamar Chase gets a lot of the highlights in talks because he's incredible. T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are right there as far as the best 2 and 3 in the league, and the offensive line's that much better as well. Joe Mixon. I mean, that Bengals team. Joe Burrow's not only great, but he's set up to put up some big numbers.
Yeah, I'm curious. I wonder what the Vegas odds are on that, or if there are some right now, because I think that's super interesting. He's got to be one of those guys in there. And you look at the Steelers that you mentioned earlier that have previously dominated the division. They're down right now, trying to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback. Are they going to play Kenny Pickett, their rookie out of Pitt, or are they going to go with Mitch Trubisky? Decisions. The Baltimore Ravens, they're always going to be really, really tough. The Cleveland Browns are a complete joke with what they've got going on. But one thing that's really interesting, speaking of things going on in the chat, it looks like Broncos country seems to have their eyes locked on a game that you will be at. Week 1, Monday night. I'm seeing a lot of chatter back and forth about Broncos versus Seahawks. Nick, do you personally think that Drew Lock will be the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks? Because this Baker Mayfield news kind of has me wondering, is a Baker Mayfield trade imminent?
It sounds like it's possible. Probably also speaks to the Seahawks not being super impressed with Geno Smith / Drew Lock in their mini camp battles. Just the reality of it, right? If you saw what you like there, you'd not be interested in giving up picks or a contract for a different quarterback coming in. Regardless, I mean, you can always look to improve the position. I mean, if that was the case, why would the Broncos bring in Baker Mayfield? It's because they have their guy. They know they have their guy. So the Seahawks have questions. As far as that week 1 battle against the Seahawks, on paper, the Broncos should be able to go in there and beat them. I think the biggest question for me is going to be, can the Broncos win this game without Russell Wilson having to take over? That's the biggest one for me. And that comes down to the offensive line and the running game. As Scott mentioned in the chat earlier, I talked about Russell Wilson being one of the worst quarterbacks in football against cover 4 coverage. Again, some selection bias there because they went up against the 49ers who ran cover 4 pretty extensively, and not many teams have the personnel that the 49ers have on the defensive line, makes it tougher and easier. Also, Fred Warner, best linebacker in football for my money. Also, I enjoyed your shout out the other day about Devin White. We can get back into that later if you want.
Yeah.
It will be really interesting. I just want to see if this Broncos offensive line and run game can dictate to the point where the Seahawks have to pivot, and then you can see some of those explosive plays and let Russell Wilson, be the nail in the coffin.
It's always exciting when quarterbacks are on the move, but I hesitate when
Yeah.
a guy is starting to become a journeyman. Like, you could
Mhm.
see the road is long. Maybe Baker's traded there, maybe he's not. And we've got a friend joining the show, Gatorade Gaming via Twitch. Guys, you can watch MHH on Twitch if you're a gamer, if you like to stream, if you have a pod of your own. Join the MHH crew on Twitch, like Gatorade Gaming, saying yesterday they were saying that the Panthers were trading for Baker. So who really knows? And that's a great point. Both the Panthers and the Seahawks have been connected to Baker Mayfield for as long as I can remember. I mean, since the draft, really, and something we were talking about, something we were watching, Nick, on our days together. And it's crazy. I would have thought something would have happened by now, but then again, we haven't quite got to training camp, right? So there's time, but Seattle will also have a new offense, regardless of who the quarterback is. You've got a new offensive coordinator, new competition at quarterback. Pete Carroll, kind of stubborn, saying he did the right thing by getting rid of Russ. So the Seahawks, I think, are in for a rude awakening for the next couple of years. They're going to find out and that you don't just find these quarterbacks and then get rid of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a little bit harder. Unless you are a team like the Packers or the Colts who, hop from one great quarterback to another, but would not bet on that. So we got C Chain coming in saying, doesn't matter who the starters for the Seahawks, Broncos will get the W
Yeah.
any given Sunday, or I guess Monday, but the Broncos, what do you think the line will be when that game opens up? I'm going to have
Oh,
Broncos at -3, and that includes, the 2.5 that you tend
that
to
sounds
see for
about right.
the road team.
That sounds
That'd be
about
fantastic.
right, especially for a Monday night game, if we're going to be honest. But have you been to that field? Have you ever attended a game?
I've been to like 6 Mariners games since coming
Okay.
out here because they pretty much are giving away the tickets for those ones.
So I'm
But
guessing it doesn't get as loud as it would for a Seahawks game.
no, definitely not. I mean, honestly, the most rambunctious fans I've seen there, just outside the stadium or in general, are the Sounders fans. Those the soccer team, they love their MLS team here in Seattle. But it'll be loud for week one, and I mean,
It's
I
going to
think it's
be
one of the most.
tough.
Yes, it will.
Uh,
Um,
isn't it the
I
toughest
go ahead.
place to play in the league? Like, for audio, like in terms of the noise and the audible noise and the Richter scale and all that kind of stuff. I mean, or is that a bunch of jargon? Because I don't know, man. I think it would be pretty intimidating to play an NFL game, period. But then, especially opening up on the road. Don't get me wrong, I like our chances a lot. You got Russell Wilson coming for some get back against Seattle, getting booed like we think he's. We both agree that we think he's going to get booed. I can't wait. I just think it's bulletin board material for a guy that doesn't need it, but thrives off of it anyway. I mean, Russell's the little man with big hands that isn't supposed to be here, and he is a thoroughbred through and through.
Yeah, he's a thick boy, too. Maybe Clydesdale there or something like that. But
Yeah.
we'll see. I think probably the toughest stadium to play at right now would be Kansas City. Their fans are pretty ravenous. Kansas
Oh,
City in December is pretty darn tough. I mean, Broncos haven't beaten Kansas City since week 2, 2015. Sorry to say that, Broncos country, but I don't think Seattle's going to be super duper tough, and it should be. The only thing that worries me weather-wise in Seattle on September 12th could be wildfire smoke. That could change things dramatically, but that would hurt the Seahawks just as much. I don't think there's really a big home field advantage there. Also, it
yeah.
sounds like a lot of Broncos fans have gotten tickets to that game as well, so I'm curious to see what it looks
Ooh.
like in the stands.
Ooh, because Broncos country, I mean, they just travel so well. And now you know they're going to show up. I mean,
Mm,
when you saw the Peyton Manning fans and 18s and stuff on the road, you're going to see that. I mean, exactly same thing with Russ Wilson, threes all over. I think there is an intimidation factor to playing in those stadiums. And that being said, I think that the Broncos are going to have something of their own now, an awakening, if you will,
mhm.
down at Empower Field that it's been dormant. I know that it's getting worked on right now with the fire damage and stuff like that, water damage over at the stadium. But you got the 19th richest man on the planet group. Ownership group of the Denver Broncos. I'm pretty sure that the stadium is going to be finished on time and it's going to be out of control. I hope it's a good out of control. But I want Kansas City to worry about playing here. I'm so sick of quarterbacks like Philip Rivers for the duration of his career saying, I love playing in Denver, and Pat Mahomes, who was just absolutely owned Denver the last 13 games. He loves playing in Denver. It's just, I'm done with it. And I think that you're going to see that resurgence now that Russell Wilson and this new and energetic team under Nathaniel Hackett is ready to rip and roar.
Yeah, we have Jay come in and saying Seattle has the loudest stadium. I thought the Chiefs beat that Guinness Book of World Record as far as decibels, but either way, I mean, you're talking, it's probably negligible. It's going to be a tough place to
Like
play.
0.1% probably
Yeah, I mean,
difference, because those two have been connected, right? As long as we've been
yeah,
alive, I feel like it's been one or the other. I can't. No one ever remembers the third.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. But I think you mentioned it earlier. I honestly hope that the game isn't too much for Russell Wilson, getting emotional about it. I'd rather him just be stoic and do work. And maybe this is me being a little bit biased because I felt like the games were more than a game every time Peyton Manning went up against the Colts, and that resulted in poor performances from him overall on the team. So this is just prepare like it's just a game, do your job, and that's one reason I want that if the Broncos can win this game outside of Russell Wilson, the offensive line and the run game taking over, I'll feel much better about it because then you can kind of remove that element somewhat.
Yeah, that was weird to see Peyton go over against his old team. You're exactly right. It seemed like that haunted him. But he got that ring, right? 1-1 in
Mhm.
the Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos, a win, a loss, and a ride into the sunset. But Russ, he's bitter. He's able to harness this type of stuff. But this is a whole new chapter of not only his life, but his career. And he is so rooted and vested in Broncos country right away. I mean, outside of all the wonderful work he's already done with his camp, just last week, Nick? I mean, holy cow, to see those campers enjoy Russell Wilson, Sierra, their kid, football, to see what he's doing at the Avs games, the Nuggets, see what his whole family's doing is incredible. My wife got back from one of the local grocery stores, and she said there's already a Russell Wilson organization with Sierra set up to donate in the little credit card checkout. I mean, these impacts are being felt immediately by Russell Wilson, Sierra, and his family here. So when he gets kicked to the curb, kind of like he did, and that was the curb that is Denver, I'm all right with it. But I think he's going to definitely have a vendetta against his team, if you will. Pete Carroll is going to try to juice his defense up a little bit, and I'm curious to see how it ultimately turns out.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we get a shot at Drew Lock, just for the fun of it. Who knows what will happen then? I know that some fans and whatnot will be pretty loud about that if it goes the wrong way, but I'm here for the narratives. Let's have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Number
But
2, Drew Lock, right? Because he's paying homage and respect to Russell Wilson with the number 3. I mean, that'll be weird, right? Because we're used to seeing Drew at number 2, but I think it suits him.
yeah, absolutely. And Scott in the background saying Turk Telecom Arena, where Galatasaray Turkey team hit 131 decibels. Arrowhead Stadium has reached 142.2, but it has an official Guinness Book designation as the loudest crowd roar at a stadium, January 26, 2022. So I
Mm.
do remember it being Kansas City. I guess that what is it? What game would that be? Galatasaray. Excuse me, Scott. I don't speak Turkish or Spanish, but no, I've seen them in FIFA. But definitely
It
think that I remember Arrowhead being very loud.
Yeah, it looks like that was a game against the Steelers this last year.
Hmm.
So I remember a little bit of the game. It looks like I'm reading about a TJ Watt 26-yard fumble return. I mean, what a crazy year he had last year, right? Defensive NFL MVP. But yeah, Chiefs fans, as much as I can't stand them, it's crazy over there at Arrowhead. We've got to figure it out. But it's cool to see fan bases ultimately fan. And Nick, I didn't know this, and I was talking with Carl a little bit. I'm sure you knew because you keep more track of different sports than I do and hockey. I didn't know the Blink 182 thing was a thing for the Avs and the home ice, where the whole fans like sing the Take Me Home song or whatever it was. To see that many fans like sing that song, it was so cool, man, and it just like made me be like, all right, I'm in it for the Avs now. I want the Avs fans to win because it's cool to see a fan base hyped about their team.
I honestly I don't follow hockey enough. Was it All the Small Things by Blink
Yeah,
182?
there you go. It was that one. Yeah, it was,
Ah,
and I didn't know like it was a thing. I thought maybe it was just a cool. Everyone was pumped because it was an overtime win in game 1, and then my wife tells me no, she's been hearing on the radio that it's a thing that they've been doing at Ball Arena, and it's like a fast tempo song. This isn't
oh, it's a
something
great
that
song.
like is just like the White Stripes. Oh, 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 oh. No,
Mm-mm.
spits, I mean, fast lyrics. Tom DeLonge, just super cool, man. So I hope the Avs get what they want, and ultimately the Avs fans, but it seems like it's a tough night for them.
Yeah, I mean, even if they end up losing tonight, they'll have home ice still. So
Yeah.
long series yet to go. We'll see what happens. I'm as a neutral bystander. I hope it goes 7, just for more fun,
Ooh.
more content, more games. Let's do it. And a take home winners goes. Winners take it all the way. But we got Gatorade Gaming coming in over on Twitch saying Russ is going to throw up 50 on his old team. Go Broncos. What do you think? What do you as far as 50 points on the Seattle Seahawks? I can't imagine their it was Pete Carroll allowing that to happen. He'll go super conservative, suffer ball on the defensive side to not let that happen, even if it means that they have a worse chance of winning.
Yeah, Russ is used to playing in that stadium, but when it's quiet, it's going to be a little different when it's just absolutely out of control. And I think he's going to lean on the Broncos running game to try to quiet that stadium a little bit. It's when you got Pookie running over dudes, Melvin Gordon, for what it's worth, he'll probably be out there. Mike Boone. I think you're going to see a smarter offense, an efficient offense that's going to try to get Russ relaxed, get him calmed down, and allow him to make his reads. But yeah, the offensive rush game, I would not count that out. I get it that we want him to just throw fades and go routes all day, but that's not the NFL. You can't do that at the college level. You certainly can, depending on the level of talent, the conference, etc. But look for this offense to try to build some momentum, to build an identity. I mean, we're talking about how quickly Russell Wilson has changed things, and they still haven't suited up together. He has changed things. Yes, that's true, but it doesn't mean it's going to be easy for them in Seattle in week 1, just because Drew Lock, Geno Smith, or even Baker Mayfield are across the field. I mean, it's on any given Sunday, in this case, Monday night. Crazier things have happened. All right. And I wouldn't worry if you're a member of Broncos country and you're thinking, are the Seattle Seahawks being overlooked? No, that's a big game. It's the only game that matters right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm more like Phil here, coming in saying Denver 34, Seattle 21. I mean, covering the spread, going in there, beating them. I'm hoping it's maybe even, 30-17. Let's have the defense come out and answer some questions as well. Maybe even a couple, pick 6 there. And we have some stuff to build on. But we'll see. My guest coming in also saying happy early birthday to Michaela. Happy birthday, Michaela. That's awesome. Shout out everybody in the chat to wish Michaela a early happy birthday, because she might be busy or something. And also we want to be first. Obviously we have, what is it, the Huddle Up boys tomorrow night? Nah, Mile High Insiders wishing you a happy birthday first.
Happy birthday from MHI, Michaela. Appreciate your support and being able to catch our show on Wednesday night, primetime now. Scott, Nick, and yours truly. You could find us every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Mountain. Michael, Big Mike in the house. What's up, buddy? Good evening, Nick and Luke on the MHI Mile High Insiders. Let's ride and let's go Broncos. Man, Mike is constantly humbling me, man. After every show, Michael takes the time to comments, supports, give us that nudge of love and encouragement that sometimes we need. It's a long season. It's the dead season right now for a lot of people in the NFL, not for us at MHH, man. We're kicking this thing into second gear. We've got guys doing great podcasts, gals doing great podcasts, tons of content at MHH, and then we've got our MHH Super Chat superstars like Mike. And I just appreciate all your support and kindness, man. I wish I could be a little more kind and patient like Michael, because every time he writes out a loving comment or message, man, it really puts things in perspective for me.
Yeah, down there in Tucson, always great to hear from Michael. We appreciate you. Also, we got Mark coming in saying, great show, guys. Thank you. And Gatorade Gaming back on Twitch saying new coaching staff is a big wild card. Probably the biggest wild card. Just so much. They're very green. I think it was Melvin Gordon, another interview today with Melvin Gordon. He was on Jim Rome talking about how the energy is totally different in Denver now. I'm really excited to get to work with this coaching staff and everything. So,
the energy is totally different. Yeah, Melvin, because you're sucking all the life out of it, dude. This player is the most selfish clown that we have on this roster. I'm done with it, dude. It pisses me off, and I'm not going to pull any punches. He's still bitter over a Denver Post article. Whoop-de-doo. Is this the first time that someone has written something bad about you? I know it hasn't been, because I've done it. And, you've had your agent come after me. I just don't care, man. It's one of these things where you're either bringing energy into the room or you're taking it away. And I just sit back. It's a ridiculous question, but you ask yourself because it speaks to the ultimate narrative that I think is reality with Melvin Gordon. If asked, would Melvin Gordon play special teams? Hell no. Melvin Gordon is above voluntary OTAs. He's the vet minimum for me. He's the minimum guy. And I don't mean to just come out and blast him, but I'm done with it, dude. He's a total distraction for this team right now. Jim Rome's still a thing. I love Jim Rome as a kid back in the day. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't even know he was still a thing. Maybe it's a satellite radio thing, Nick, but for the love of God, Melvin Gordon, someone take his Twitter account.
I'm going to be a little different here. Melvin Gordon, as long as he's not out here, committing crimes and whatever, and his teammates actually, do support him and he's out there, helping the team, I don't care. It's I would rather have him be kind of authentic and loud rather than the good, nice guy up front and then a total jackwagon behind the scenes, which former wide receiver on the Broncos that was playing recently for the Bills apparently is that kind of guy. So I'll take it. It's whatever. But
we were talking about him last night too, dude.
Man.
Yeah, no, man. Some crazy things, right? Crazy things there. And you're right, man. It's that old saying, sometimes never meet your heroes. And I'm a bitter old man, right? So this is what I do. But no, this is me being really picky. I guess I would apply this sort of behavior to any player on any team, but you've got Russ, so I'm not ultimately that worried about it. And they're old college chums from Wisconsin days. And I think that's the only reason Melvin Gordon is on this team. The Broncos let him test the waters, and he came back here. I know he's spinning all kinds of tales about other teams wanting him so badly. Yes, other teams were interested, absolutely, but no need to embellish. All right, it's the NFL. I get it, but he's foolish if he thinks that Javonte Williams is laying down. Melvin Gordon is on this team to keep the tread on Javonte Williams. I just, like you said, I don't want any more distractions. Thank goodness the Jerry Jeudy thing was not violent. It was dismissed. Nobody was hurt. That's best case scenario type stuff. Just like Melvin Gordon's ultimately dismissed charges as well. It is what it is. He was not charged with a crime. Nobody was hurt. People do make mistakes, but I don't want any distractions on this team. And with Russell Wilson, I don't think there should be.
Yeah, I mean, if it's an issue, I hope Russell Wilson would step in. Also, I think that, Nathaniel Hackett seems like enough of a peacekeeper that if there were any issues, we'd move on. And Kevin Gray saying, why are you such a hater, Luke?
I know.
From Drew Lock now to Melvin Gordon. He's got to direct it somewhere, folks. Otherwise, it's going to be at me.
No. I got to hate on something, Kev. No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, and Kevin, you're exactly right. It's Melvin's a professional. I need him to hang on to the ball. I need him to be accountable a lot more. And I'm taking, some personal jabs here. I don't know Melvin personally at all. I've never met him or anything like that. But for me, this is football, and this is what we do. And I'm not saying Melvin Gordon's a bad guy. I really don't care either way. But he should bring something to this team. And he's on this team for a reason. He's tall. He's physical. He should be able to be leaned on in goal line situations as well. GLP, our guy, Gary Leeds Palmer, saying happy birthday, Michaela. I like to celebrate birthdays, Nick. We're big on birthdays in our household. They're a special day. I absolutely love being with my friends and family and being able. Father's Day last week, holidays are big deals, man. I love them so much, and life is so precious. We were talking about it earlier. I don't think we need a reason necessarily to celebrate all the time, but when it's your birthday, you need to get down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of getting down, we're going to get on out of here. We're going to get down, and we'll see you next Wednesday as well for another Mile High Insiders. Make sure you guys are following Luke on Twitter at Luke Patterson LP. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at MHI_pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And please subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. Luke, what's the rest of your night looking like?
I've got a date night with wifey planned.
Ooh,
it's nice. Cool. We're going to do some sushi, man. So I absolutely love it. So I can't wait. And it's a beautiful time of year, right? It doesn't get dark till 9 or 10. So it's perfect for like a quick walk with the dogs, some patio sitting, stuff like that. Get outside, get that fresh air in your lungs, man. I know you're always a big component of that too. Get out, walk, enjoy life.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're going to get on out of here. Thank you for everybody for joining us today. We appreciate you. I'll see you guys live tomorrow morning with Scott on Bronco for Breakfast. Until then, choose kindness, choose compassion. Go Broncos.